Okay, this is the second set of videos, and I'm going to start with interior proposal. And again, these are more unconventional way of working. We're using conceptual masses to create complex program project organizations. So at the same time during class, we're looking at other questions a bit more standard or a bit more typical in that sense. Okay, so we're going to go to Rhino. This is, one of the proposals that I liked. And what we're going to do is the same as we did before, which is export selected, SAT, give it a name. Oh, so you have another one, call it budget B, defaults correct. And we're going to go to Revit. I'm going to go to 3D and see what we have here. And before I actually do the same process, I realized that this is the conceptual mass that is perfectly aligned to the interior here, but it's not perfectly aligned here to this side. So I'm not sure if you have the same concern, but in theory, the wall should be assigned or associated to the exterior of the conceptual mass. Okay, so I'm going to actually move this wall to this side. I'm going to move, I'm going to move first, Control-Z, the grid, move from this point to that point. That's going to take all the structures, going to move the wall and V from this point to that point as well. We need to delete these windows, which is basically selecting the whole thing here, filter out, none, and say windows, okay, and delete. So basically we have the openings, but not the windows. And then we're going to select all of these windows in this side. Filter, select none, windows, okay. And then we're going to do a mirror and basically draw axis. So we go to the middle point here. And this should come in the adequate space. So it did not. So what I'm going to do is create a line, LI to here. Another one there. So those are two green lines. And do the same thing again. Again, this is a problem I have. Maybe in your case, you don't have the same issue. But this type of concerns will always be there. So we need to fix these things as we move forward. So I'm going to pick axis instead and select that one. So it goes to the location. Now I can delete these ones as well. Now there's also like the floor, generic floor. I'm going to edit the boundaries. And I can use the line to AL, select this face here. And that face, it goes there. And then say, okay. And last is the top of solid. So edit sketch, align this one to that one. Sorry, to the exterior. And say, okay. And I think it should be now in good shape. Okay. We do maybe have some issues with the height, but I think that's okay. I don't think it's a big problem. So, the floor, sorry, should be. So this is a good opportunity to close some windows, but not all of them. Close, for example, the 3D and leave those two, and then go to view and set tile view so you can have two things at the same time. And you can select in one the floor and then edit boundary and then take it with the line to AL to here. So it goes there. Escape, yes, and it should go and move to that point. Okay, so I think now we're in good shape. Again, the real project will be, I can close that one, have only one view now, and I can turn on and off under massing inside the mass and turn off and off. So now I need to go to the side and bring that SAT now that I fixed those issues. Probably ideally we go to the project north orientation to see that on the project north. And what we're gonna do is create a new family. And here we're gonna use the mass here. So remember that the best place is not here. So if you go new conceptual mass, select the mass option, and it opens up this interface. This is a great interface to create a set of masses that then for the different phases of the mass, you can assign different wall types and different floors and stuff like that. So we're gonna insert that. Select the project that you generated, make sure it's 00, which you should have made said before that it's obviously at the correct scale in the 00 coordinates. And we're gonna save that because, give it a particular name, B, whatever the project is. Load it into the project. It's gonna open up automatically the file that you were working with, the project. If not, just open it up. And I'm gonna escape that several times until it stops. Good. Now from the side view, that's where we're gonna be going to architecture component. Get close to the 00 coordinate. Wait for the magenta snapping tool to be set to the origin point and click. He wants to place more projects, masses, so let's escape. So you only have to place one. There's, you can see the ghost of it there. You can see it also in the 3D. I can say WF, which is basically wireframe to see everything there. You can select it, turn on the glasses, say isolate element, and there's the thing. Remember this temporary, so we should be working with it. Now this is a conceptual mass that we can turn off and on, as I mentioned. Go back to the previous setting, and now start assigning walls. So what I'm going to do is select everything, filter out, none. What I'm going to do is only the masses, okay, and right-click, hide. Sorry, I don't want to do that. I want to select everything, filter, and uncheck the masses, and right-click, hide elements, not categories, so I can actually see the projects that were, the masses that we brought, so we can assign partitions. I'm going to also hide the project base. So we have this simple set here, and I'm going to start using this model by phase commands. Again, there's a more unconventional way to work. It's one that allows you to create interesting partition systems and stuff like that. So we're going to start with a wall. And here's where maybe some of your proposals that are very complex might give you errors. So you're trying to select a wall and it doesn't work. So you might want to consider bringing a different project from Rhino, or try different options that I'm going to be talking about. So I'm going to select for interior partitions, to our rating. That's the type, and the option of, model by phase allows you to select the phase directly. Turns blue, and then you click. I want to escape that and see what we have done. If I turn off the masses here, what I've done, and if I go to hidden lines, it's basically a very complex surface, but it's a wall now. It's actually has a thickness, and it's a Revit material that if we go to the level 1, we can see where it's being cut and projection. And because we did this arrangement before, this corresponds precisely. Otherwise, there would be an opening, which wouldn't be the most horrible thing, but for you to consider. Okay, so we go back to 3D, turn on the mask. This is what we're going to be doing a little bit. Just going to select some walls, maybe select this face, maybe select this other face here. And then I'm going to escape that to select current systems instead of walls. By the way, I could select different types of walls, current systems. I can select this other face and this other face and say create system. And it will, a current system basically is a set of glass panels that are flat and they're cut at different patterns. We will be able to change that. I turn off this. There we go. We have a series of walls that if we go to level 1 or level 2, we can see those being cut at different heights in different ways. Okay. We need to turn off the masses to see this more precisely, on and off, to get rid of that kind of a ghost. Okay, so we have that. So we could change potentially the type of wall because we want to assign different materials to this that we will be looking at afterwards for rendering. The ideal scenario is that these walls are unique to your project. So you could say edit type and do not modify the standards. So you might want to say duplicate and call it something like interior partition project beam, and then say, okay, so that's a new partition. That means that you can change some of these parameters, the materials, etc. That would be okay. Now I changed that one. So this one is a new type. This is the old type. That means that if I change this type with edit type, edit, I can say, for example, that this finished floor, finished wall material is a different one. Assign a different material together, glass or whatever it is, and that will affect, I'm going to cancel this will affect this one only, not this other two. So that's the way you generate partitions that are different from each other. No? They can't share the same type if they're going to be different to each other. No? And you can create as many types as you want. You could say, this other one, I'm going to duplicate, and I'm going to say something like glass or brick wall, whatever it is. And then you can change the finished floor material to be brick instead of gypsum wallboard. Okay, so I'm not going to do that. It's more geometry right now. You can, as we were mentioning in class, there's different layers for this wall. You can edit type, set here and add new layers, insert, or change the thickness of your layer and change the material. If they're exterior and you see them, you should not change the finish function of that layer. And just remember that exterior side is the top one, and this is the interior side, which is not so easy to understand when it comes to such a complex form, no? Okay, what about the current systems? When you select current system, you can select the element, which allows you to get to the system. You can see how these pretty much are working. Click on edit type and see what it gives you. And basically, the grid one is the vertical one versus the horizontal, and it's fixed distance. You can change those parameters to a fixed number if you want a particular number, or if you want a distance base. These are the cuts. So these are each of these lines that are cutting the glass in different parts. So if I were to reduce this number to for example, it will have more cuts, and I can say apply, and it will change those settings. Now, before you change anything, I always recommend, I'm going to take it back to where it was. I'm going to duplicate that and say something like new curtain system project B or something like that. So you're changing parameters of a particular new curtain wall. So you're going to say, for example, 5 or something like that. 5. So that's going to change the whole setting. It's going to take time because it has to calculate all the partitions. Now, this is the current system project B, which are both of them because I create them at the same time. If you want them separately, you can delete one of them and then assign in 2 occasions the different phases. And under edit type, you can also insert mullions, which is basically the carpentry that defines the cut of the curtain wall. So I can say, give me, for example, when I have a 2.5 rectangular for the interiors and for the borders, could be a little thicker. That's border for grid 1 mullions. That's the vertical ones. It's going to be also for the horizontal ones. Okay. Let's see. Okay. That's going to take a long time because it's basically going to create a number of mullions defining the space. There you go. So now you have those mullions there. And if I were to take this into shaded mode, you can see, say that, how the glass components and the mullions now are defined. And if I were to, change this type, for example, just to bring an example, to change the finish material here from Newsom wallboard to something like iron or something like that, or just to make it more, I think there's probably a metal, aluminum, stainless steel, so it's more evident. Say, okay, that would be the stainless steel finish. It's kind of a crazy thing, but why not? And then the interior, I don't know, so steel. So it's difficult to see there, but if you go to realistic, you'll see that kind of shiny thing. There you go. So that's this one, because again, I duplicated the form. These are different types. These are G2 boards versus the stainless steel. So these are made of glass. Obviously, the materials of the mullions can be changed, and the material of the panels themselves as well. But we're not dealing so much with rendering. We're dealing right now with the representation. The important thing is to think of, how does the plan look, and how can we actually take it into consideration when it goes to the InDesign format. Okay, so notice how this is a little tricky because I think the mass is not really well defined. I think it should have taken a little further up so that we can probably change afterwards the offset of the roof, and we'll do that, all these little details in the next video. The question now is, how do we take this into InDesign at the proper scale, and how we start populating the InDesign with the drawings that we need at the scale that we need them.